Hi, my name is Sandy Mundis. You might not recognize my face, but I hope you've had a chance to taste one of my pies at the York Fair. I have been competing at the York Fair for the past 22 years, which is the age of my son. When I was a stay-at-home mother, my husband said to me, "Why don't you start entering some of your pies and things at the fair?" And I thought, well, I'm not going to have a chance with that, but I did. And to this day, I have 63 ribbons. Since I've been baking pies for so many years, I've gained a lot of experience and a lot of pointers from a number of people. Today, we're going to be making a pie crust.
The most important thing when you make pie crust is that everything should be cold. What I do the night before, if I know I'm making a pie the next day, I even put my flour in a container to put in the refrigerator. You're going to cut up your butter, if you use butter, into smaller pieces and store that in the refrigerator. And I also have my shortening, which I also use in my pie crust, cold. Measure it out, put it in cold. Now, I have 4 cups of flour. And to that, I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of salt. Just going to stir the salt into the flour a little bit. Make sure it's mixed up. I'm going to be putting the butter in, which this is 1½ sticks of butter cut up into small pieces. Well, look at the butter. And then I use the pastry blender. And I'm going to be working this butter through into the flour until it looks like cornmeal. Every now and then you just get in there and get that butter out of there. Some people don't use butter, they use all shortening, and that's fine too. What you would want to do is your first addition of your fat, you want to do this way, blend it very well so, again, it looks like coarse cornmeal. I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of shortening in, and this also should be cold. And this you're going to let little pieces of it in the dough. This is where you're going to get your real flakiness. Your larger pieces will mix with the air and it'll bubble out the crust. So this you're not going to be blending as much as you did the first fat. You have little pieces of shortening in there. That's what's going to make for the real flaky crust. I first started out by putting like 5 tablespoons of water in. And the less you work with this, the better it's going to be for the flakiness of the crust. And you want to always make sure it's cold, cold, cold. So that's why you use ice water. I'm going to use a fork this time just to mix it up a little bit. And I see I still need some water, so I'm going to add 2 more tablespoons. And again, I'm not touching it with my hands yet, but I will in a minute or so. You see how there's pieces there's bigger pieces? That's telling me that it's just about ready. I'm going to do the pinch test. You do that and you see you still need some water in there because it's not sticking together. Put some more water in. It's always best to put less in, and you can just keep adding to it until you get the knack for it, that you can kind of tell by feeling that how much more water you're going to need. And you see more big pieces are forming in here. And see it's starting to stick together. And I'm pressing this and I feel that it's still cold. That's a good sign. If it's not cold, get it in the refrigerator and then get it back out in a couple minutes. You always want it to be cold. I'm still going to put some more water in there. It's not a true tablespoon here. Let's stick one more. See, by looking at that, I still can tell it still needs a little bit more water. It's coming too. Divide it in half because this is for 2 crusts, this recipe. Flat disc. Stick it in the refrigerator. And you should probably always refrigerate your dough before you work it for at least an hour. You could do it overnight and then let it sit out for a couple minutes before you leave it.